Hi, I'm Lt Col Brenda Reed, and I am the Dean for Online Learning Programs with Volunteer University. Today, I want to talk to you about tips and tricks and best practices for our Volunteer University online instructors. So it's kind of a teacher's lounge, so you can pick up a few ideas, and hopefully in the chat room, we'll have some other ideas from some of our members. So let me get started with just a quick introduction about myself. If you want to read the whole resume, you can. It's on the Volunteer University website. But I'm the Dean for Online Learning. I'm also the Commander for Granite Cadet Squadron. It's a homeschool squadron. There's another presentation during the conference if you want to learn all about that. I have 3 objectives for this session. I want attendees to understand the requirements and the application process to become a Volunteer University instructor. And then you should be able to comprehend the unique student experience with online volunteer modules. And then evaluate your current online instructor habits and add best practices to your instructor toolkit. So those are our 3 objectives for the day. So how do you become a Volunteer University instructor? Now, I am assuming that we have a number of already qualified instructors on this presentation. However, I'm also assuming that we have a number of people who are not a Volunteer University instructor and are thinking, well, this sounds like something I could do. How do I get involved? So let's just run through that real quick. So you want to be an instructor with Volunteer University. Well, my first question is, did you apply and have you completed the Volunteer University instructor course? We have a course that you have to take. It's a very short course online, followed by a virtual session with one of our level chairs. And that's just to make sure that you not only understand the material and the goals of Volunteer University, but then they can introduce you to how we do things, our processes, our procedures, how, if you're doing online, how the learning management system works, all those kinds of things. And then if you're online, they can start setting you up for teaching the next cohort. So if you have not applied, then you're going to go to this link. Now it's on the Volunteer University website. You click the link, and then you're also not only going to fill out that application, you're going to send your resume to the email, and that is all part of that process. And we send those out to the region and wing level. We send them to the region commanders, and many of them talk to the wing commanders. Once we get that back as approved, you're enrolled into the Volunteer University instructor course. After completing the course, which includes both parts, the online and the virtual session with the level chair, then you can begin teaching, whether you want to do online, on-site, or the virtual in residence. So now you've taken the course, how do you want to teach? Well, based on what I've just described, how do you want to do it? Online is through a cohort system. It's self-paced using Access modules. There are no mandatory meeting times with instructors. Or you could do an on-site class that's instructor-led in a classroom at a specific location and time. Or you could do the virtual in residence instruction. That's a class. It's instructor-led at a specific time using virtual meeting technology, and the participants are actually logging in at the same time, but they're from different locations geographically. So let's focus more on our ideal online instructors, okay? We want our instructors to be self-motivated, okay? You don't have anybody standing over your shoulder, so we want that self-motivation. We need instructors to be able to communicate well through email. If you're the type of person that just puts five words in an email and fires it off, well, you're probably not going to be the type that is going to do well explaining a concept to a student that's struggling to understand. You need to have good communication skills through email. Sometimes with your student, if they're really struggling, and I've done this before, you could set up a Zoom session with them and talk one-on-one. Sometimes it's a little easier that way, or a phone call, but many times it works through email. So you need to be a good communicator. You need to be willing to dedicate 2 to 4 hours a week. Now this depends on your level. The level 2s and the level 3s, the workload is not as heavy as level 5, and that's because Each of the levels until you get to level 5 have a certain number of automated modules that no instructor is required. However, level 5, all of the modules have instructor moderation involved. So it really just depends on and how active your students are. But dedicate 2 to 4 hours a week so that you can check in, you can read the discussions, you can add to them. Some people will put in a lot more time than this if they so desire. But we're looking for a certain level of dedication each week. You should be able to juggle multiple modules at a time, okay? Your students are not all going to stay in one module. Some of them are going to go very fast, and they may do a module a week and they're going to get it done. And then you may have somebody else who's a little bit slower and they're working a module every other week or one module a month, depending on their life situation. So eventually you wind up with students in, 10 different modules sometimes. And so you need to be able to juggle these. You can't just work one at a time. So I don't want to say multitasking, but you do need to be able to juggle things, okay? You need to be a person that doesn't require that face-to-face experience. I know that I've seen some instructors with the online, they come back and they I really miss the classroom. I want to be able to interact, okay? That's great. You can still do that if you're approved as an on-site instructor, but for the online side, you shouldn't require that face-to-face communication because a lot of our students aren't looking for that. You're more of a guide on the side. You have the sage on the stage, that classroom instructor, but you're a guide on the side. The students are studying on their own and you're just there to guide them, mentor them, and help them along the way as they need it. We're looking for a level of commitment. I need you to commit to your students. Okay, if you're not interested in helping your students succeed, then you probably wouldn't do well as an online instructor. Okay, I'm just going to be honest with you. Okay, I need you to stick with your cohort for the duration. If you make a commitment to do a 6-month cohort at level 4, then I expect you to stick around for 6 months, commit to your students, commit to working that cohort for the duration. And I would ask that you have a commitment to excellence. It's one of our core values. So expect excellence out of yourself, expect excellence out of your students. Commit to that. Again, excellence doesn't mean perfection, it means doing your best. So commit to your students, to sticking with your cohort, and to excellence. So let's talk a little bit about the typical student experience in Volunteer University. And I will say that the typical student, there is no typical student. Okay, as we know, Civil Air Patrol is a wide range of members, and they've all come into Volunteer University or the education and training program. At some point, they will show up, whether it is on site or online. Typical student experience nowadays, they may be out there on on their mobile device. Okay, they may be at a desktop. They may like that hard paper, hard copy, reading it. They don't want to read it on a device. They want to read it, in their hands. They may prefer a classroom environment, and they may prefer getting up and giving presentations or, just having somebody guide them and working with a team. Typical student experience, yeah, we have pretty much everybody. But every online student is unique. There's no cookie cutter for a student. Everybody is unique. If you think about the average age of our member, well, we, basically a senior member can start at 21, and I actually have online students that I'm working with right now that are in their 80s. And the challenges of some of our older generation with the technology, some of my students really require some hand-holding. And that's okay, because they're learning, and as long as you are helping them along the way, their age shouldn't be a factor. They are there, they're working towards meeting their own goals. So we have this wide range of ages. Likewise, we have wide range of education. Not all of our members are college educated. Some are high school graduates. Some have never even finished high school. Some have doctoral degrees. Some have been blue-collar workers, and then others are white-collar. Some are stay-at-home moms. It is a wide range of education. Similarly, wide range of experiences and work experiences. Just everybody brings something different to the organization. And you have to realize that all of your students are not going to be the same. Okay, they're going to be different. They're going to be coming from all around the world. They also have a lot of CAP experience. Okay, you may have somebody who knows everything about communications, and then you'll have somebody else who knows everything about cadets, but they don't know about each other's. So as they're going through these modules, you're going to have some people that are really trying to learn some of the material for one module, where the next module, oh, they've got that. Their CAP experience is great on that. You may have some members that are commanders. You may have some that are brand new members or have only been in the organization for about a year. And we're here to help everybody, no matter what their experiences are. We have different technical abilities, not to stereotype too much, but the younger people tend to be more technologically adept. They like to do things on their mobile devices, where we have some older people who prefer the desktop. I'm in that category. I prefer my desktop, and they want to be able to do that. We ask in some of the modules that they create PowerPoints, or they have to work with Word. In a couple of the level 5s, they have to do voice in their PowerPoint, and that's a technological challenge for many of them. So some of them are learning how to use technology in order to create their assignments. So we have different technical abilities as well. Their current life situation, oh my, there are so many of those. We may have one, a young senior member who's currently in college, trying to work all of this through studying for other college classes. And we have, on the other end, we have the senior citizen who is retired and has all the time in the world to do this. And then everybody in between. We have the ones, who have young families, and they're active in their squadron, and they're busy with work. They're lucky to get a module done in between all of those other responsibilities that they have. We have differing motivational levels as well. Some of our members are motivated to learn new things, to expand their horizons, to just, improve for the organization's sake. And then we have some others, and there's nothing wrong with this, that are motivated primarily because they want to get promoted. Let's be honest. That's why a lot of us go through this program, is because we want to be promoted, because with those promotions come greater challenges, opportunities. So promotion is a great motivator. So yes, motivation, there's different levels. And then we have a number of different types of learners. We have people who do better by reading and writing. We have other people who do better by listening. We have others that do better with hands-on. People who tend to be in online tend to be more the reading and writing, the visual learners. We have different learners, but not all of your students are the perfect type of learner for online education. And so for some, it's a struggle. For some, it's a lot easier. We have these differences, but we also have a lot of similarities in our students. I would say all of our students, if they're in the program, they have a desire to progress in the education and training program. For whatever their motivation, they have a desire. For whatever reason, they are unable or unwilling to take on-site modules. So many of our students, again, they can't take the weekends, they can't get to the classroom. So online is where they get their modules. When we first started Volunteer University, we had a number of level 5 members who took the modules, and they signed up for some of the very first cohorts. And they had been waiting because they were unable for many years to get to National Staff College. And now we had it online, they were able to do it. Now it took them several months, and some of them are still working on it. But they're meeting their goal, and it's a goal that was unachievable in the past because for whatever reason, they couldn't take those on-site modules. So that's a similarity that all of our students have, is that they're unable or unwilling to take on-site modules. They're all learning a new system. And for those of you who have not gotten into our learning management system, into Access, you'll understand that it's a new system. Not only the learning management system, but how everything is processed in e-services. So it's a challenge. Every time you have a new thing, new tools, it is a challenge to work on these. So everybody's learning, and that brings frustrations. Okay, everybody, a lot of people are getting frustrated with the technology. A lot of it is just, it takes time to learn it. Okay, I admit I was frustrated. I didn't understand it early on, and you just have to take the time to master it. Just like anything else, you just spend that time. Time management. If you're in an online program, you need some time management skills. As an instructor, you need to have those management skills as well, because you need to be able to set that time aside to review your students' work, to answer those emails, to grade the work, and to help those students. And you need to be able to plan for that. Our students have a need for communication. They don't want to just be out there on their own. Even if it's just a note with their grade, hey, you did a good job on this assignment. I appreciate that you recognized this point. Here's where you could have done a little bit better, but overall, great work. Just that little bit of communication is the pat on the back that many of them are looking for. And many times they just want somebody to be there. They're working on their own, and that's okay, but when they have a problem, they want to know that somebody is out there that they can reach out and ask. I want to make some generalizations about our students. Many of our students prefer classroom interaction. They're online, but they would really rather be in the classroom. Many students cannot attend traditional classes due to family or job or scheduling. Many instructors prefer the classroom interaction, just like the students. And many instructors cannot teach a traditional class due to family, job, and schedule. So as you can see, students and instructors are pretty much in the same boat. They may want the classroom interaction, but they can't do that right now. Online modules allow instructors an opportunity for service. Okay, online modules allow students to achieve their goals. So these are generalizations about what our instructors and our students are going for. But let me just say this, and coming from the Dean for Online Learning, it may seem a little counterproductive. Not all students should take online modules. Online modules are not for everyone, okay? Let's just get it out there. A lot of people seem to think they have to do it online. You don't. There's many other options. Online really should be the backup for those who cannot do the classroom for whatever reason. Not all instructors should be teaching online modules. And online instruction, again, is not for everyone. Not all instructors are going to be good online instructors. Not all students are going to be good online students. However, the flip side of that is we have a number of instructors that are phenomenal at online instruction, and we have students that are thriving in the online world. Volunteer University needs online instructors who can commit to serving the needs of their students. Okay, and I'm stressing this because I'm talking to you as instructors. And let's face it, we've had some instructors that have signed up, gone through the program, and after their first couple weeks, they get frustrated and they go, I'm done. I am not going to support my cohort anymore. I'm not going to live up to my commitment. Now, they don't word it that way, but that's essentially what they're telling us, is that they made a commitment, they're falling down on the job. And what that means is we now have to scramble to find another instructor for that cohort because we don't want to let our students down. Okay, so let's talk about some tips and tricks for meeting the needs of your students. Setting expectations, okay, that's a big one. I think that a number of our students or instructors might get frustrated because their expectations differ from reality. Okay, so let's manage your expectations. One, this is not a classroom experience, okay? If you're online, you're not in a classroom. You have a group of students, you have a cohort, but it's not in a classroom. You're dealing basically through emails. You're not going to be standing up there and teaching them in a physical room. You must commit to a few hours each week for the duration of your cohort. But you know what? That goes both ways. Students have to commit as well. So the least you can do is commit to helping your students succeed. And it is, I would say it's rewarding. I am an instructor in several cohorts, and it's rewarding. You know, a lot of the students just go and they do their work and it's fine, but I've had a number of interactions with some students through email that have just been rewarding to me. They just make your day because you know that you've helped someone. So commit to those few hours each week. Okay, understand that students are self-paced and they're self-taught. You're not teaching them, you're guiding them. You're going to help them if they have trouble, but for the most part, they're going at their own pace and they're teaching themselves. Okay, students need to understand that instructors can't read minds. If you haven't turned in an assignment in 3 weeks, they don't know you're on vacation. You need to let them know. If you have a need, or you need you need help, you have questions, you have to ask, you have to make that step, you have to take that step and reach out. The instructor's not in the classroom to look at your puzzled face and go, whoa, what's wrong there? Okay, you have to take the initiative and reach out. Instruction is one-on-one. It's self-paced, you're self-taught, but then when you have questions, then it becomes this one-on-one instruction back and forth. And as a student or as an instructor, access is wild, okay, but you can tame it. Okay, it just takes a little bit of work. Okay, assignment expectations, as our levels increase, the expectations increase. So a level 2 module is not going to have as much work as a level 5 module, okay? It's just the way it is. We don't expect our newest members to have the depth of knowledge and experiences that we would expect out of a level 5 student. Okay, remember that many of your students have never been to college. So don't hold them to graduate level work, okay? We want them to seek excellence, but we can't hold them to such a high standard that they just are unable to attain, okay? Encourage your students to cite their sources. Going back, they may have forgotten. It may have been, you know, a few years, or that maybe only finished high school. They probably didn't cover APA, MLA, source citing. So we ask that, you know, cite your sources, but don't hold them to that exact standard that would be required for publication in an academic journal. We want them to cite their sources, we want them to excel, but we don't want to hold the standards so high that they're frustrated. Along those lines, we do have an academic integrity policy, and instructors, you should be aware of it. It's on the website. You should know about this policy and be able to recognize plagiarism when you see it and know how to respond to it. Hold the core values: integrity, respect, excellence, volunteer service. Expect that of your students, expect that of yourselves. Okay, next tip and trick, we did expectations. How about be organized? Okay, if you don't have a system, it's going to be very difficult. One of the reasons you have to have a system is when you are grading and reviewing work. When you're reviewing the discussions, you can't get from the grade book into the discussions. So you have to have a way, when you're reading through and grading the discussions, of organizing that information so that you can then transfer it over when you get into the grade book. Be organized. Also have information for your students. Have a student guide. Level 4 has a great student guide out there. Level 5, I believe, has a student guide as well. And have a suggested schedule for students. You can use the same emails, it's okay. Each cohort, you can use a different email, whether it's your initial welcome or if you do a weekly follow-up email with them. Save those emails and recycle them. It's okay, because your student is going to have that information. So create a file where you have all of this stored that you can use and refer to, and then recycle with your next cohort. And then also have records of your grading. Yes, it's in Access, but as most of us know, technology can get a little wonky, and so have your grades elsewhere. So here's a picture of the first page of the level 4 cohort. This is a cohort 27. I'm actually the instructor for this. So this level guide was designed by one of our early level 4 instructors, Lieutenant Colonel Dan Brodsky. He did a phenomenal job with it. And so it covers not only the schedule, it covers a rubric, it covers how to do your discussion posts, and what actual modules are you required to do. And so it's a pretty cool tool. You give the students that the very first week, it answers a lot of their questions. So have something like this. In there, like I said, there is a place where you have the schedule. This one defines which ones are the automated and which ones are the moderated modules, and a suggested sequence and suggested schedule, okay? Everybody works at their own pace, but hopefully they will follow the schedule and the sequence. I'm not too worried as much of the schedule as much as they follow the sequence. But we have that in there. This is a copy of just the email that I use, my initial welcome email. We set up a Teams, and so it gives them instructions on how to do that. And basically an introduction to the cohort. I use, and this is just a template, I use a spreadsheet for every cohort that I'm in, and I break it down by each set of columns there that you see is a module, and whether they have a quiz, an assignment, and each of their discussion posts. And so as I work through the discussions, I can fill in my spreadsheet. And then when I move over to the gradebook, I simply transfer that information. So this is this is an active one that I'm currently working with. And so as you can see, the level activity, and we'll talk about this, not everybody's going to do the work, okay? But you can see the grades. I put an X there if they have met the standard for the discussion. And if you see blue, that's my particular note that means it's recorded in the grade book. That way, if I get stopped and I record from the discussions and I can't go to the grade book at that point, I know that the next time I go to the grade book, I have not inputted that particular score into their grade. And I still need to do that. And then it also helps me see the progress. On here, there's some blue lines that are done, but there's nothing on there. You don't see any grades. And that's because they had a equivalency. This was waived for them based on prior learning experiences. So I know that I don't have to look for that information from the students. So this keeps me on track. And one of the other things I record on here is the last date that I reviewed this module. And that helps me realize that, if it's been a week, then I need to get in there. Learn how to navigate Access. Okay, Access is a beast, okay, let's admit it. It's not the greatest LMS, but it is our LMS. And so we need to just sort of embrace it and learn to work with it. Okay, we're trying to make Access do something that I don't think it was designed for, but it is working for our students if we can just accept the fact that it is not like some of the other LMSs that you have worked with, perhaps. So learn to navigate Access. It's going to take some time, but you can do it. There are handouts, there's videos out there. We've tried to make this accessible to you. A lot of the questions I see are actually questions that have been answered. They're out there, and it's just people are too quick to ask versus doing the research for themselves, okay? Ask your chair for guidance, okay? The chairs understand how Access works. They've been dealing with it, and chances are the question you ask them, they've been asked before. You should be able to get them to help you right away. And then just play around with it until you get it. You're not gonna break it. If you want hands-on, you can get together with your chair and do a screen, a screen capture, screen share, so that they can talk you through it. I've done this for other instructors, and we've, at one point it was just this instructor was frustrated, incredibly frustrated, couldn't get it, and through emails and, I would say, well, try this. Finally, we got on there for a screen capture, and it turned out to be something so simple that I wasn't getting across in my emails because I took it for granted. But once we were on there and I saw his screen, I realized immediately what the problem was. So ask. Don't just be frustrated. Don't give up and say, well, I quit, if you haven't made the attempt to master the LMS. Okay, so here's a couple other things. When you're starting your cohort and you're in the discussion forums, create a discussion thread for your cohort. Get in there and at least do the first couple ones before students ever get to that point, before it opens up for them. Okay, so as you can see where I've circled cohort 27, that's that same cohort I just showed you, the student guide. Okay, label it cohort 27. Okay, your students, when they get into that discussion thread, they'll see cohort 27 and you've already told them that's where they're going to post. If you don't do this, your students are going to start creating their own threads and they're not going to usually have their cohort number on there. So you're going to have all these random cohorts that you're going to have to look at. And that's going to be a frustration point. So nip it in the bud, create the thread, tell your students that you're going to go to this thread. That's where you're going to post. If they want to post in other ones, and I recommend that they read other posts and other threads because they're going to learn a lot from their other students. But if they want to respond to that, that's great, go ahead. But copy and paste and put it into our cohort. One, so the instructor can easily grade, and two, you can share that knowledge with your cohort and your colleagues in your cohort. So this is the very first post. When I create that cohort thread, I put that guidance that I just talked about in a post. And I just say, this is for our cohort. Okay, if you work ahead, okay, and there's not enough responses, go out and read some other ones, but then do that copy paste thing. Okay, and then I talk about, as grading, the grade is based on the number of posts. Okay, 1 original post plus 3 responses is the minimum that we ask for. And also the quality of posts. Okay, they have to be substantial. Okay, you can't just go, hey, yeah, I agree. No, that doesn't count. Okay, it's like, yeah, I agree. And in my experience, I have found that this, whatever. Okay, so add to the conversation. And then here's another tip and trick. The list of discussion threads is chronological, starting with the newest at the top. So make a note of the very last date that you checked. And I put this on my spreadsheet. So for example, where this arrow is pointing is June 23rd. Well, the last time my cohort, for this particular one, the last time my cohort, anybody had put something in here was June 23rd. And if I look, the next time I check in, I only have to find June 23rd, and anything above that I need to check. I don't have to keep checking all of those previous threads because they haven't been updated. So it dramatically reduces your workload if you make sure that you know the date of the last time you checked your posts. And then this is a problem we deal with a lot. Why do my students disappear from the gradebook? We have this happen all the time, and it frustrates instructors. Chances are your student has become an instructor in a lower level. Usually that's the problem. Access is a little wonky. It has this hierarchy of how things get put into the system. And so you're doing it and they're in your grade book, and then all of a sudden when they get put into a cohort for a lower level as an instructor, it messes up the hierarchy. And national headquarters paid staff do all of those enrollments into Access. And so they aren't always aware that that's what's the problem is. So we just have to make them aware of it. If you see a student disappear from your grade book, immediately tell your chair. Chances are that's what's happened, and we can fix it pretty quickly with national headquarters help. And you can't see them, so their stuff is not getting graded. So let's get that fixed as quickly as possible. Another tip and trick, establish a suggested sequence. I talked about this a little bit ago. Here is the suggested sequence for moderated level 4 modules. This isn't all of them, but just gives you an idea. Typically, there's no real, the foundation and prerequisites are previous levels, so they could do these in any order. So if you look, these are essentially in alphabetical order is what we're going with. Okay, it really doesn't necessarily matter for some of these. And why would I do this? Because you could do it in any way you want, but if you're going to have a discussion forum and a discussion thread, ideally everybody should be in the same discussion at the same time. If everybody just picked and choose wherever they want to be, you're not going to have those discussions. But if everybody is kind of geared towards the same modules, you're going to have a discussion. It's going to be more robust, and you're going to have them actually working as a cohort versus individually. And the cohort, over time, they will get used to each other and the experiences that they have had and shared in the discussion threads. And so they will actually, it will work out well. So, and you can see with my spreadsheet is set up in this same order. So then it's easy for me to track where they are in the process. So I might see, 5 people with boards and board leadership, and then 2 people in the safety program, and then I may have one that's just speeding ahead and is already into personal leadership. And then I know who my fast workers are and who are a little bit more keeping the pace of the program, the suggested sequence. Also a suggested schedule. So we have a sequence, but how about a schedule as well? Now, for these, I like to schedule a module a week. I don't expect everybody to follow a module a week, but that's the guidelines. We have members who once every 2 weeks is just too slow for them. They want to get it done. So once a week, it gives them a goal. Okay, I have to do this week because next week I have another one. And for some of our more goal-oriented individuals, this works for them. Others, they don't pay attention to the schedule. They know it's self-paced. Life happens. So they'll pick it up, down the road. And so many of them will keep me apprised. Hey, I'm going on vacation this week. I'm not going to be able to do this week, so I'll just pick it up next week. And I'm fine. That's great. Just, let me know. Personalize your cohort. It's your cohort. Just like a classroom, you personalize it, inject your personality. One of the ways you can personalize your cohort outside of a student guide and your emails to them is Microsoft Teams. Every level has a Teams account, and they can create a channel for your particular cohort. In your team channel, you can put files, you can have chats, you can do, you can do little memes for, good work. They can ask questions, they can work with each other. The sky's the limit of how you want to personalize your cohort through Teams. We recommend that you use Teams versus anything else. Communicate. You want to communicate with your students, whether it's through Teams, through emails. You need to be a strong communicator. You need to take the initiative to get the word out. I went and I asked some of my instructors what they did. And so Lieutenant Colonel Sam Levy said, one of the most important things is to let the student know that you're there to assist and mentor them. I make it a point to send an email at the start of each module and reinforce that fact that I am available to them. Your students just need to know you're there. Communicate that to them. Don't make an assumption. Lieutenant Colonel Linda Yeager in Arizona Wing. She's a level 5 instructor doing a phenomenal job. And she provides instructor comments with each set of discussion posts as well as papers, and includes thanks for sharing diversity of observations. All of her students have commented that they appreciate the feedback for their efforts rather than just a check mark that it was done. Our students want feedback. They want constructive critique. They want that positive pat on the back, but they want to know where they can improve. You're going to get that through communication. And here another one, Lieutenant Colonel Levy, make sure that when he receives a submission that is getting a failing grade, and you will have some of those. Our students do a great job, but every now and then you get one that either they don't try, or they don't understand, or they miss a large chunk of the assignment. And so what he does is he gives the student the opportunity to improve. You just don't go 0 or you failed, because remember, we're dealing with volunteers here. Okay, they gave their time to work on this, and it's your job as the instructor to give your time to help them. So give them the opportunity to improve their suggestion. He makes him make sure that his suggestions are what they could improve. He doesn't tell them what to do. And I've done this as well. They've missed a big chunk, and so I email them and I say, I appreciate your effort, but here's where it's lacking. And this is what I'd like you to do. And these are the reasons why. You want to get to know your students. Now you can do this through the Teams account. You could do this through email. You will get to know them through the assignments as well, because many of them, they will put themselves into their assignment, talk about their squadron and what they do. So you will get to know your students. Linda Yeager talks to them initially about their background. What's their prior online learning experience? Why are you taking the modules? What challenges do you anticipate? How are you going to manage your workload? And do you want an optional periodic virtual meeting? Okay, so this is early on, get to know your students. And there you're going to find the ones that are going to just work real fast and the ones that are going to go a little slower, the ones that need that help. And so talk to them and open that communication with your students. Ask for help. You have a level chair there to ask. Talk to your level chair when you need help. Just ask. Don't hold it in. Don't get frustrated. Ask, and let's see how we can support you. Some common issues that we face as instructors: the module needs updating. Let your chair know. Students are missing from the gradebook. We talked about that. Let your chair know so we can fix it. Sometimes there's broken URLs in the module. Okay, that's an easy fix, but we need to know about it. Sometimes your students will let you know this. So then pass that information on so we can fix it. Making Teams work for you. Now, I will be the first to admit I am not an expert on Teams, but there are people out there that are. And so we will get you the help that you need. Problems with these services and professional levels. Remember, these are all new tools. We're working on them. They're a work in progress. And we have some, tickets in to have improvements made. But if you have issues, then definitely talk to your chair. Talk to them. Other common issues are access. A lot of times the issues is expectations of what you think Access should do and what its capabilities are. Others are just understanding how to navigate the system. And then every now and then it's just Access gets wonky and we need to just kind of fix the problem. So those are some of the common issues that you will experience. If you have problems, there is a chain. It's not a chain of command, but it is definitely a chain that you should work through to get your problem resolved. Remember, you always start at the lowest level and go up from there. The student goes to the instructor. If there's several instructors in the cohort, then that instructor should go to the lead instructor. The lead instructor goes to the level chair goes to the online dean. And then when it comes to me, if I can't resolve it, then I go to the provost, or the provost goes to the chief, and we'll get you the answer. But let's follow this chain and encourage your students not to go directly to national headquarters. You don't always have to create a help desk ticket immediately. Have the student go to the instructor and let's see if we can resolve it. Chances are that question's been asked before and we have an easy answer for you. Last but not least, check into Access at least once a week. Please, you need to do this. You need to keep track and you need to keep on top of what your students are doing. They're working hard and they want to see that feedback. They want to see the return on their investment. Respond to emails as quickly as possible. Let them know that they're not forgotten. Grade assignments weekly. When you check in, you're going to see the work level. You might only be able to work on the discussion forums that day. That's okay. Check in another day or so to get those grades in there. They don't know you've done anything until you've actually put the grades into Access. And just remember that life happens. When life happens, talk to your level chair. They're going to help you. They're going to find a way to make it work for you. If you have other instructors in your cohort, make sure they're aware that you're having issues and see if they can jump in to help you. Okay, if you ever have any questions, go straight to the Volunteer University website, which is on the National CAP website. Start there, and if you can't find the answers, then use that chain. Thank you for serving as a Volunteer University online instructor. I appreciate each of you and what you do and how you support our students. Thank you very much and have a great day.